I've been watching a lot of Big Yellow's fighting game garbage recently, a series of videos in which she analyzes a character's shortcomings in their respective games. Feeling inspired, I've decided to do something similar. For this series, I will look at characters who were once held in such high regard in the game's meta, but in subsequent games or patches, later fell not only from the pedestal of the top tiers, but were perhaps even considered unviable. There's no better fitting character for the start of the series than Kazuya in Tekken 4. Now, Tekken 4 is a rather short-lived competitive scene, all of which is poorly documented, and as a result, info overall is quite scarce. The shift from Tekken Tag 1 to Tekken 4 is comparable to the shift Smash players had going from Melee to Brawl. Both games had their time in the competitive limelight, however, players would stick to the more viably competitive previous game, since both Tekken 4 and Brawl would outright remove mechanics and tech and gave us nothing to compensate. Before we dive into Kazuya as a character, it's important to know that Tekken 4 was a completely different game compared to its predecessor. For those who want a deep rundown, I highly recommend watching That Blasted Salami's Tekken 4 retrospective, or at the very least the mechanics overview section. For now, I just want to focus on the mechanics that I believe affected Kazuya the most. The distance a backdash covered was reduced significantly. If Tag 1 gave us the largest backdashes of the series, Tekken 4 gave us the shortest. Korean backdashing, arguably Tekken's most famous technique, was removed altogether. Backdash canceling is only possible at close ranges, but once reaching the mid-range, the game prevents it. Neutral jump and neutral ducking were also removed. Pressing and holding the up and down directions would give us the new 3D movement of sidewalking, which activated on frame 1. Generic 1+3 throws were removed altogether and instead were replaced with position changes. These possibly had one of the tightest throw break windows in the franchise, but they're very good in certain situations, like having your back to the wall. Should you push your enemy into the wall, certain moves would be guaranteed as well. Now, these changes can be rather difficult to adjust to if you're more familiar with every other game of the franchise. It's a lot more comparable to 3D fighting game elder Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter encourages fast, aggressive matches that are always played in the pocket with a stronger emphasis on the 3D movement rather than the 2D. Kazuya was a character who undoubtedly sat in Tekken Tag 1's top 5, along with his counterpart Devil. However, in Tekken 4 he would sit somewhere between the mid-low tier. In Tag 1, he was known for his excellent movement, great punishment, and notorious 50-50 game plan. At the time, it was low risk, high reward due to its overall safety. Tekken 4 decided to exchange that for a more counter-hit focused playstyle. The best description I can give Kazuya in Tekken 4 is like Steve Fox, but without the ability to poke. Let's start with notable moves that remain the same from Tag 1 to Tekken 4. Down back 4 remains an amazing low poke, but it was even better around this time. +7 on hit, it's still +7 on counter hit, but it is a disgusting -9 on block. Your only counterplay to this is to low parry it. This was also during a time when down back 4 didn't hit ground, and it wouldn't do so until Season 3 of Tekken 7. Right splits kick remains an amazing mid, albeit a bit slow. It is +8 on hit, +5 on block, knocks down on counter hit, and has huge stun on crouchers. Although the advantage on crouchers is fake advantage, unlike in Tag 1 where you got a free Wind God Fist, so it is a bit of a nerf. Kazuya still only has 2 health sleeves, or aka the Spinning Demon, along with the first hit still tripping on clean hit. This was made better in this game due to reasons I'll get into later. He also still has his Just Frame Hell Sleeve, which does 27 damage instead of 24. Here is the regular Spinning Demon. And here is the Just Frame Spinning Demon. A lot of people think that this move debuted in Tekken 4, but it was actually shown in Tekken Tag 1. Wall Stand in 2 still requires a close and clean hit for a crumple stun. The same goes for down 4 too. 443 still doesn't force crouch on block and remains unsafe at -12. It still maintains its minimal combo utility, only guaranteeing standing tsunami kicks, or down forward 4-4. It wouldn't be until Tekken 5 that this got a bigger pickup in back 2 4-1, and Tekken Tag 2 it got a more reliable pickup with down 4-3. Down 4-2 remains safe at point blank range and unsafe at tip range. That's it for the section on what's remained the same. Now, let's get on to new moves. Kazuya got a plethora of new moves from the jump from Tag 1 to Tekken 4. Now, let's start with a very big one, and that is Oni Stomp or down 4. It yielded pretty good damage at 18, and it gave Kazuya a ground game that he was somewhat lacking within Tag 1, as he didn't have much of an answer for opponents who decided to stay on the floor. It did have somewhat of a setup utility. In fact, it was guaranteed after 4-4-3. However, players could backroll it to soften the damage by 4 points, making it deal 14 damage instead of 18. The next move on this list is Hell Lancer, or Crouch Dash 3, or CD3 as we like to abbreviate it to. A long range high, and it's -9 on block. I would argue this move has no purpose whatsoever up until Tag 2 where it became a combo ender. The next one on our list is back to Overlord Strike, a 16 frame high that is +2 on hit, +1 on block, and +5 on counter hit, along with it forcing crouch on all advantages. While back 2 might seem like a decent move, it is made rather obsolete due to another new move that we're about to get into. In Tekken Tag 1, Kazuya had a back 1 that was identical to his jab, but it guaranteed a 1-1-2 on hit. The back 1 in here is an elbow that is 16 frames fast, just like back 2, but it is a mid that is +6 on hit, +3 on block, and will knock down on counter hit. Now this might sound really good, especially because it's an elbow, and as we know, elbows and knees cannot be parried in Tekken. However, the thing is that does not ring true for Tekken 4. Elbows can be reversed and parried in this game. Sidestep 1+2, it was also introduced in this game. It was a 16 frame high that knocked down, but pushed too far away to guarantee anything, so no Oni Stomp from this. In Tekken Tag 1, Kazuya had a 25 frame startup launching mid in forward 1+2, and that is still shown here. However, forward 1+2 was given the additional extension of forward 1+2 forward 2. 25 frame startup, mid-mid, and it was -10 on block, but with pushback. As I said, Kazuya's entire 50-50 game plan was exchanged for a more counter-hit focused playstyle. And this is where it's going to start to show. In Tekken Tag 1, Kazuya got his standing twin pistons taken away from Tekken 2, and was given N-Trail Smash in down forward 1. It's -1 on block here, so it's not a terrible mid to throw out, but it is 16 frames fast as opposed to the 15 frames that it is now. However, he got the additional extension within down forward 1, forward 2. Mid-mid, -10 on block with pushback. Now this might sound like a really great mid-mid to throw out, but there was just one problem. It did not combo on normal hit. In order for it to combo into itself, you needed counter hit. Back 2, a 17 frame high spinning back fist that was +3 on hit, -2 on block, and launched on counter hit. With Tekken 4 being the first game with an emphasis on walls, especially in trailers showed a lot of wall combos being pulled off. And so Kazuya was given the famous string of back 3-2-4-1. Or Demon's Wrath as it's called. Now, this was clearly made to be used as a wall combo, however it serves no purpose due to the ability to wall tech. Kazuya was also given the additional string of 3-1, a high that remains a staple in Kazuya BnBs to this day. Now, let's move on to buffs and general strengths with the characters, but unfortunately there's not that much to mention. Forward 2 now knocks down as opposed to staggering, and still maintains its huge pushback on block. In the Tag 1 and the subsequent Tekken 5, you could hold forward to get out of while standing 2's crumple stun. However, this was removed altogether in Tekken 4. This also had the additional buff of down forward 2 now causing a second crumple stun after connecting while standing 2. Now, despite Tekken 4 having a ton of juggle pushback and scaling, Kazuya's combo damage is quite good. As I'll go over more in the BnB section, connecting a while standing 2 can eliminate half of your life bar. Oki is better overall with the inclusion of Oni Stomp, which can be delayed to catch tech rolls, or people who decide to stay on the floor. Not to mention, with Hell Sleeve tripping on clean hit, that means Oni Stomp is also guaranteed. Also with the position change throws, while pushing the 1-1-2 was a really good strat. Nerfs from Tag 1 and Weaknesses. The Frame 1 active sidewalk made Kazu's linearity that much more apparent. Sidewalking his mix-ups was the easiest it's ever been in a Tekken game. Now, in terms of homing moves to counter sidewalking, he did help while standing too, but it was risky, being launch punishable at -18. A lot of Kazuya's counter hit launching tools were too slow for the very fast-paced Tekken 4, compared to others like Steve back 1, which was down 1 in this game. Not to mention, some of these tools lacked any kind of safety, whether it be on whiff recovery or on block. It required Zen-like patience to deal with the top tiers, most of which specialize in Rushdown. Characters like Jin, for example, could lock you down and even catch you sidestepping. Now, Mishima players are known for punishing everything with 1-1-2, no matter how minus it is. And it is a very good punish, as it always has been across the series. 10 frames, knocks down, and is hit confirmable, right? However, there's just one problem with this move. Should the third hit be delayed, the opponent can block, making it no longer hit confirmable. However, if you do the whole thing as fast as possible, it is a natural hit combo. What made Kazuya's 50-50 so deadly in Tag 1 was because he had the safe 10-frame twin pistons. And in this game, it's no longer 10 frames, it was nerfed to 12 frames. But it was still safe on block. Now, while this nerf doesn't sound too big of a deal, there was another big nerf applied to twin pistons. It did not counter on normal hit. You would need a counter hit in order for it to launch. This is the moment that you've likely all been waiting for. Wind God Fist in Tekken Tag 1 for Kazuya was a special mid, and it was changed to a high here in Tekken 4. It's still -10 on block, but to make matters worse, it's only +4 on hit. You need a counter hit in order for this move to launch. But don't worry, Tekken 4 finally gave Kazuya his very own electric Wind God Fist, so it can't be all bad, right? It's still a high, but it has very fast recovery, making it nearly unpunishable on whiff. It's only +2 on block with pushback, and while this might not sound so bad, it only knocked down on normal hit. If you want this move to launch, just like the Wind God Fist, you need a counter hit. If there's one thing that a lot of Mishima players are known for, it's their eagerness to land a perfect electric Wind God Fist after landing counter hit down 4-2. And that was present in Tag 1 with Kazuya. If he landed counter hit down 4-2 and did a perfect Wind God Fist, it landed as if he were standing, which yielded disgusting damage. Now, Tekken 4 is technically the first time we see counter hit down 4-2 in a perfect electric Wind God Fist. However, due to the way that electric only knocked down on standing hit, this meant that this very difficult tech gave minimal reward, and it just wasn't worth the effort. Now that we're done with the nerfs and weaknesses, I'd like to quickly demonstrate a few BnBs that the character did have. As I said, Kazuya did have relatively decent damage in a game with such high scaling and such high pushback on juggles. So his damage wasn't certain anything to laugh at. He still is a character that can utterly delete your health bar like we remember him to be. The only difference is that you need counter hits for most of these. Another thing that is very hard to execute, but Kazuya has unique to this game and no other game, is the stun. Now, hopefully I've demonstrated that Kazuya has very little, if any, of the usual strengths that we typically know the character to have. To capitalize with him requires excellent timing and reads, but even then, his slowness just doesn't mesh well with the fast-paced brawling nature of Tekken 4. The top tier in this game is just riddled with characters who are excellent at chipping away your health and giving relentless pressure, making you second guess as to when you should kind of take your turn back. Kazuya had very few answers when it came to being rushed down and being put in a corner. With great moves like I've demonstrated with Jin's 2-1 and 1-2-3 and the Just Frame Laser Scraper, just about any character with an 8-frame jab could counter him, not to mention Steve as well. Now, what if you wanted to play a Mishima in Tekken 4? Well, typically they flock to Heihachi, who just had better tools overall, and was a contender in the top 5. For starters, he had a down forward 2 that was a counter hit launcher and always safe on block no matter the range. Gaeta's Stomp was guaranteed after 4-4-3 as well, along with it being plus on block. While you did still need a counter hit to launch with Wind Godfist, it did knock down on normal hit. He did have a long-range 13-frame standing twin pistons that was a great punisher. He had a disgusting Oki with spinning demon to dragon uppercut. For unknown reasons, they cannot tech well out of this. Hammer Fist or Down 1 was excellent. Fast startup, long range. And to make matters better for it, it hit grounded. And it knocked down on counter hit, guaranteeing another Hammer Fist. While far from the worst character in the game, Kazuya in Tekken 4 remains a depressing shadow of his former self. There's too much emphasis on a slow and patient counter hit game that simply goes against what Tekken 4 ultimately was at a competitive level. If you wanted a great counter hit focused character, you simply played Steve. If you wanted to stick with Mishimas, you played Heihachi. Kazuya simply had little chance against the game's monstrous characters. I unfortunately can't find info on how Kazuya fared in tournaments. It's hard to find tournaments for the game as is since everything has been poorly archived. But thank you very much for watching this hopefully very informative video. Despite its problems, I do love Tekken 4. It was very brave for its direction in both presentation and gameplay, and casually is an underrated gem. Thanks to the wonderful world of emulation, we do have a way to play it along with every other retro Tekken game online. I'd love to give a shout out to my people over at S-Arcade for help making everything so accessible. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description below, and feel free to join the fight. We not only play retro Tekken, but Dead or Alive, 3D era Mortal Kombat, Bloody Roar, and even other games outside of fighters. I hope to see you all in there. But I'm no special Tekken player, I'm just Monica, and thank you very much for watching.